You like it?
Should choose from one of my million selfies.
And I think we're live right now too. We'll
Oh,
see.
really? Awesome.
I believe we're live with episode 120 of the Start Build Grow Show. I sure hope so, Randy. How you doing, my friend?
Well, I don't even know how to beat the last intro, but
There we go. Yeah,
I'm excited.
We're
This
live.
is an awesome episode.
Yeah.
Welcome in. What is up, everybody? What is up, fans of the Start Build Grow Show? We wanted to kind of change things up on you a little bit. For those of you listening on the podcast, sorry for you, but my lovely and talented wife is on camera, so you can see and get to experience what I get to experience on a day-to-day basis. So excited to have you here. And for, like I was saying earlier, man, this is like the first time I've been nervous on one of these shows. My wife's here, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But we're excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We want to kind of change things up a little bit. This show is dedicated to sharing the entrepreneurial journey in the construction, the roofing, contracting space. And we try to, bring a lot of value in a lot of different angles and a lot of different great stories. And it's been a long time coming. We've had you on a long time ago, but, episode, 5 or 6 or a long time ago. And we wanted to get the perspective of the wife.
Yep.
She gets to put up with a lot for me. She does so much around the house, takes care of these kids, and is just such a blessing. So welcome in, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Here you
Hi,
go,
everyone. How's it going?
So I was thinking we could start with story time, right? We usually start with the background. So I was thinking we kind of start with how you guys met, how long you guys have known each other, and all of those fun details to kind of get this thing kickstarted.
Oh, man. So funny, Randy and I both went to UNC up in Greeley, Colorado. And neither one of us, we never met in college. Never. I mean, maybe like I might have wandered into his frat house at one point. I don't know. Maybe we did meet. But we actually ended up meeting through a mutual friend downtown Denver when he had just moved back from Austin. And we met at the birthday party. And then later we realized that I had been to his house before and we just had never met. And so we always say how that's like a true testament to like people are meant to meet at a certain time in life. You know what I mean? Like we had so many opportunities to meet mutual friends and we never did until a few years after college. And that was 11 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You nailed that one because there's no way, I don't think we weren't ready to meet back then. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
No, I definitely wouldn't have dated him.
No.
She's like, who's this crazy guy?
Okay. So when you guys first meet then, is it fireworks immediately? What is the vibe in the beginning for you two over here?
Hey, you know what? I don't want to be cliche, but honestly, there was something the second I met her. It was crazy. Like, because we met at a mutual friend's birthday party. So a friend, we had mutual friends, and that was my old roommate up in at my house in Greeley, Colorado. Yeah, and that's where she was friends, and that's where she had stayed there. They hung out, they had hung out and spent the night over there, just partying or whatever in college or right outside of college. And they just happened to be downtown. She got invited, I got invited, and we just were there. And man, I was kind of like a super creeper. Who is this?
So much so.
And I was like texting our friend like under the table, like, what's her name? What did she do? Right. Immediately, right off the bat. So
Randy was vibing
or just
right away,
creeper.
Okay, so he's creeping on you hardcore right off the bat. So were you vibing from the beginning then too, or where was your head at?
It's so funny. I'm so shy and like just so reserved that I'd like look up, and if I made eye contact with him, I'd be like, I just kind of look down because I couldn't. He had these beautiful blue eyes, and I was like,
the baby blues.
But it was funny because like I lived in Fort Collins at the time, and he had just moved back to Denver, and so like I had to drive back to Fort Collins, so I wasn't like this was in our 20s, okay, like. We were kind of in party mode, but I was not in party mode. I had to drive, and he was a little bit more in party mode. So he was like, he's whipping out all the lines on me. And then I just remember I was like, we were talking, and I go, can you just stand back to me for just a sec? I just want to make sure you're taller than me. That's like a prerequisite kind of, because I wore heels like religiously, and I stood on my toes, and I'm like, all right, he passes that test. This may work.
So that's all it takes.
Yeah. All it takes.
Okay, so he was drinking, so I'm guessing his lines he thought were really good. Were they really good?
Oh, no. Are we really going there right now?
Do you want me to say the line?
Sure, bring it on. Let's go.
Let's hear it.
It's
120 episodes.
Yeah.
It's pretty good entertainment. He goes, it was really cute though.
Yeah.
He goes, I just really want to make out with you right now, but I'm too drunk. It was just really funny. So we did not kiss or anything that night. We exchanged numbers. He called me a few days later and we went on our first date, which I feel like our first date is really when I was like, ooh, like I feel like this might be the guy.
This is something here. There's something here for sure.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool.
She actually answered. I called her like a couple days later.
Called her up
she
and she picked up the phone. You're like, holy cow, wow.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So at this
then
point,
I've been trying to trick her to stay with me for ever since.
And you continue to trick her. You continue to trick her. So, okay. So that was 11 years ago. And then at that point, were you already kind of in, what were you doing? You starting your own business? Were you kind of working something? What were you doing?
I was in transition. So a lot of you know my story. I had a construction company before the market tanked, the Great Recession. I was kind of in transition from that. So I had my company and then I moved to Texas and I became an insurance adjuster. And then I was traveling around the country doing that. And I had just got an opportunity to come back to Denver, back to Colorado, my hometown. And I was doing roofing sales. So technically, I treated that even like its own business, right? I was doing roofing sales, had our own little sales business going. And I was just kind of cutting my teeth in the roofing space, working till 9, 10 o'clock at night, every night, knocking doors, trying to make things happen, trying to figure it out. And so we got together actually before, I ended up launching the elite roofing brand that we talk so much about today. So she's been with me since the absolute beginning. I remember that first conversation was like, hey, I think I'm going to start a roofing company. She barely even knew me at that point, maybe a year in or something. And she's like, I'll support you in anything you want to do. And that was so huge. Looking back, like that meant so much to me. She's like, win, lose, draw, fail, whatever it is, I'll support you and I'll be there for you. And looking back now, can't tell you how important that is to an entrepreneur to have that significant other, like genuinely support and back you with anything you're doing when you're chasing your dreams. Because it's really hard. It's really lonely out there as an entrepreneur when you're just diving in and trying to make things happen, because the failure rate's pretty high. For her to say, I don't care if you fail, go for it, and I support you, like that, that was incredible. I was super blessed for that from day one.
Do you kind of remember that conversation, Chrissy, when he said that he wanted to start his own company?
Oh, totally. And I don't even think it was elite. It was, you started another one with your old business partner. When I first
that was
met you, right?
kind of the sales. Yeah, we had that sales company like ETCS, where it was like doing sales subcontracted to the big roofing company. So we had just started that, but that was like a year and a half, and then we launched the actual roofing brand. A different company.
No, I just remember telling him like, and this might have been like after a few dates, but I was like, I will live in a cardboard box with you. I don't care. He told me later that he had to borrow money for our date. Like he didn't even have his own money for our date. And I didn't know that at the time, because like I've worked since I was like 14, like at my dad's shop counter, and I've worked at Taco Bell, and I've worked since I was young. And so on our first date, I just remember being like, I'll pay for this. And I don't like feeling like someone's taking care of me. Like I'm super independent. And so he just like had to pay for everything. So learning later that he borrowed all that money, I was like, oh dang, like,
hey man, that's what you got to do. What you got to do.
You got to
to get a business, to get the girl, whatever. You got to do what you got to do to make it happen. That's just, maybe it's a pride thing, but
so do you remember who you borrowed money from?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the deal. I was selling roofs.
Yeah.
And I had just signed a bunch of contracts. The week before I signed like 15 contracts, and I was like, hey, I barely even have enough cash to put money in my tank right now. I'm literally, at the bottom of the barrel cash flow wise. Yeah. And the owner of that company, just handed me a few $100 cash and said, all right, I'll take care of you. Thanks for your hard work. And man, the rest was history. I just hustled ever since,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
probably the last time I ever actually really had to borrow any money either.
Right there for that date. It ended up working out, hey?
Yep.
Worked out pretty well. What was the date? Okay. Do you guys remember what the date was?
Yeah, it was pretty cool because I drove to Fort Collins and we went to a sushi restaurant and then we went to a drive-in movie. We saw it was like some cartoon movie or something. I don't remember what was the movie. We saw two movies like back to back. Ice Age.
Nice. I like it.
No, it's good. We met on July 7th and we went on our first date July 10th, and it just kind of ever since then was just So we've been together 11 years. Yeah.
So how was the beginning stages of starting Elite then? Did you go directly from the selling to starting Elite then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at that point, you guys have been seeing each other for a little while then already, about a year, it sounds like, or?
Mhm.
Yeah, just about a year.
Yeah.
I think when that kind of all went down when we first launched with the company.
So was there any kind of backup plan there thinking when you guys were kind of talking about, your future and everything like that? Or how are you guys kind of looking at this as kind of a duo over here?
Well, kind of at that point, we were still just dating and in that like courting stage. And, we hadn't quite gotten to the marriage talk yet. But it was challenging because not only I say challenging, but also rewarding. And we learned a lot in a sense that we started a relationship in 2 different cities, right? We had to travel to see each other. So it wasn't like, you get in a relationship and like overnight you're hanging out every single day all the time.
Yeah,
we never did that. And I think it was really strong, good for us to maintain our independence, but also, really nurture that relationship and really kind of, build and get to connect and get to know each other. And then shortly after starting the business, it was tough the first couple of years. And I had an opportunity where, we just really needed to make something happen. And I ended up traveling. I was still storm chasing a little bit and traveling. So, not only were we, kind of used to this different cities and struggling through that, then all of a sudden like, hey, I'm leaving states and I'm going to be gone for 6 months to a year. I love you. Hopefully we'll this will work.
Well, even before
we did that.
well, even before that, like as Elite started kind of rolling, like I remember their first office. I mean, it was so tiny. There were like 2 desks. And then there was my old couch that they stuck in the office. Yeah,
nice.
Totally. Oh, I remember. And it was literally him and his mom and his sister. And that was like it. He was selling. And then after a year of being together, I mean, it was just kind of, I feel like for you, it was getting real that like this business is taking up a lot of my time right now.
Yeah.
And we ended up breaking up for like a month or 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was almost right after Elite was started. And so it is just kind of one of those things to look back on, to be like, when you're married or dating an entrepreneur, like, I mean, their whole life revolves around growing their dream.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like they have their own business. I grew up in a family where my dad owned his business for 20 years, right? My parents did. And when I look back and compare him, like he was a business owner and he did very well at his business. You know what I mean? But like as an entrepreneur, I feel like you're trying to chase the next thing and continue to grow and scale and all this stuff.
There's no finish line.
There's no finish line. And so it was just kind of one of those things where we hit that year mark and it was like, I think it was stressful on him. And then it was just like, whoa, like, cause we were starting to get serious and everything, but you just realize that this whole entity is consuming every piece of him. And then we got back together and then he was traveling again, which was hard. Like I would go see him sometimes and he would come home on the weekends, but even in a new relationship, that's kind of hard. And I think just having done a little bit of long distance, we already kind of had a nice balance of keeping our own lives and then still coming back to each other. You know what I mean? So, but it was hard. And I think thinking back to that first year when we broke up, it's just like, it is hard being married or dating an entrepreneur. It is hard.
Yeah. And for those of you watching live, I mean, let's hear the comments. Let's maybe some stories or questions or something like that. Because we talk so much about growth, success and the end game, but this has been a very long, challenging journey, not only from a business perspective, but from a personal relationship perspective, all the way across the board. There's been lots of ups and downs, and especially the time apart and the distance, and that was definitely challenging. And that's part of the reason why, within the first 5 years or so, I had already branched off into different states, and I was starting to travel and go to different states, and the vision was to open offices in different states and build this big, company. And ultimately, I had to make the decision that the travel and being away from the family and being away from my home, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Do you think there's a way to successfully, deal with the traveling? Because I know there's a lot of people who chase storms, who travel to wherever the work is. Do you think there's a way to be able to balance that? Or is it one of those things where you kind of have to pick your poison in a way?
I think you just got to pick your poison. Some people are just wired to do that and to travel and to be successful and use. The thing is, from what I understand, just interpretation of career travelers, people that travel a lot, they don't necessarily you know, there's a high percentage of them that don't necessarily have, you know, families or marriages or whatever. They're single, they're able to travel, and it makes that life a lot easier. When you start settling down, you got a family, it makes it a lot more challenging. So I think regardless of what someone says is, if you're traveling with or without a family or without a relationship, like, it takes its toll on you. You know, you talk to people all the time that have jobs where they travel a lot. I think it definitely takes its toll on you, regardless of how successful or how well you can learn how to map, balance, and manage. I mean, psychologically, we're humans. We want to be connected, you know?
And I think it takes a very special partner to want to and be really okay with, hey, this is my life. My husband travels 250 days out of the year. You know what I mean? Like, I am not that person.
Right.
I'm not. And like, Randy does a lot of, like, not nearly what he did. Like, when he was chasing storms, he was gone like for weeks at a time. You know what I'm saying? Now, like, if he goes to do an event, it's like a couple days here and there. Right. That I can handle.
Right.
But like, 100%. If he's gone, and especially now that we have kids, you know, I feel like being gone, you just miss so many milestones. And for me and a partner, like, I want my partner by my side going through those milestones.
Yeah.
I don't want him to miss it.
I want to dive into one thing that you were saying about how, you know, you're not just dating or married to an entrepreneur. You know, it's someone who is literally spending all this energy chasing a dream, you know, and what advice do you have for a partner of an entrepreneur in terms of, you know, how to make that work and how to really understand the mind of that entrepreneur?
Like, from a spouse's perspective?
Exactly.
Oh my God. Humility aside, I am a very patient person. Like, I'm a very, very patient person. And I think patience is like, it's so key. And I'm starting to learn, even having been married now almost 8 years, like, really being able to be vocal about your feelings with things is huge. Like, I wish I was more vocal about stuff way before. Just about, like, okay, the traveling, like, I feel like I never see you, like, we're never connecting, you know, hello. And I just didn't. And now I think we're also in a different season of our life now, you know, where I'm just very much like, all right, let's really think about when you're planning these trips. And like, so I think being very vocal about your feelings, and if you're not feeling, you know, if you're feeling that disconnect together, or I don't know, it's just a very fine balance of being patient with their dreams, because they're going to hit these highs and lows and you're along for the ride with them. And it's also being like, I have needs too, and we're in this partnership together. So we need to sit down and talk about this and what's good for both of us. Like, I'm there for your dreams, bro. Like, as a spouse, you could totally be there to support their dreams, right? But don't sacrifice like what you also need in a partner. Like, you should not sacrifice that either. So I think it's a really fine balance.
And on the other side of that, the one chasing his dreams, like, that's big for when you have held me accountable, because I think as an entrepreneur, you can slip so into the zone, so to speak, that it's easy for everything else to just be a blur, right? You're just like laser focused. I want to accomplish this goal. I want to do this, and your family and your marriage and all those things can easily kind of fall farther and farther away from being top of mind. So, you know, regardless of how uncomfortable it is, I appreciate the accountability when she pulls me aside and says, hey, reel it in, you know, like, reel it in, like, take a break. Like, you know, you don't need to travel on every single event. You don't need to. So I really have come to really cherish and appreciate that accountability that she's really helped me out with.
And I think he's way more intentional about choosing things that are really gonna benefit him and his growth. You know what I mean? It's not just like, I have to go to every single thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think it really challenges him to be like, all right, what's the biggest bang for my buck, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, what events am I really going to take a lot from, and what am I going to really be able to deliver a lot to? And I mean, that's, huge.
Being able to prioritize, because he has no other option.
Totally.
Much, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's definitely, I will say too, for spouses, like, you want to make sure, and not even for spouses, for the entrepreneurs, like, you want to make sure that the little kids are talking to us. We have visitors. Saying hello. You want to make sure that you're not taking it as your spouse nagging at you. You really have to, like, set that aside and be like, all right, what are their real concerns here? Because I think there's a really big difference between, like, nagging, like, do your laundry, pick up your laundry, you know what I mean? Versus, hey, I'm not feeling this partnership that we're trying to build in life right now. Like
100%,
you really need to recognize when your spouse is coming to you and being like, I'm not putting down your dream, but I need to put you in check for just a minute.
It's almost like in the business world where, you have to have a culture that kind of accepts criticism in a way, right? As an opportunity for growth, right? And if you avoid that kind of communication, you just kind of build up a negative attitude towards that person, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to communicate that, I feel like is so huge. And I like what you're saying too, making almost, putting Randy in a spot where it's like, all right, I understand that I have to make sure I'm making time for the family. Now I have to prioritize what events to go to, because chances are he doesn't have to go to all the events, right?
For sure, yeah.
So what about when, you started to really scale Elite? Were you having to put a ton more time in there? Did that have an impact on the family at all, or what? Because you had some drastic growth. How is that? How do you guys balance everything out during those times?
Well, conversely, the more we've scaled, the more balanced I've been able to be, if that makes sense. As you scale a business, you start putting other pieces in place to be able to take over and the whole point of scaling your business is to relieve yourself of the time, the day in and day out constant 80 hours you got to put in to build a business. Scale that business by putting the right leadership and developing leaders and developing systems and processes and bringing other people up in the organization to get you to a place. For me, I wanted to get to a place where I'm narrowly focused on my role within the business, which will allow me more freedom, more time to spend with the family, and more time to chase other dreams. I mean, the academy and should I have that? So I was asked this today in a call. I think I'm involved in about 6 or 7 different businesses, and I absolutely love every minute of it. And I have more freedom now than I ever had in my life. Early on, first 5 years, it was sun up to sundown, almost every day. It was Saturdays, like traveling, like it was almost 5-6 days a week for the first at least handful of years that I was either available or needed to be available or on the phone or out in the field trying to sell roofs and make things happen. But as you scale and as you really put the components in place, the business starts to come to you a little bit more and you're able to really find more and more balance.
It's true. And at the same time, if he comes to me with an idea and I'm like, and he's like, so I have this. I'm like, no.
How many ideas first off does he have?
Too many. Too many.
The shiny object syndrome is real, man.
Not to shut him down, but here's what happens, right? Like you get in this comfortable spot, and he's right. Like I feel like he's more able to manage his time now. He's not traveling, chasing storms and actually doing the selling. He has really incredible leaders in place that, are, I don't want to say running the show, but like he's really able to focus on the backbone of the company and really growing it and stuff. Then what happens though is when something bad happens, because here's the thing, it's really funny, and I tell him this. When something crummy happens in the company, of course they call you. You don't get the good news. You get the crummy news. And so sometimes it's like all of a sudden the stress starts hitting because he's got like all of these other things lined up for different, the roofing academy or whatever else it is, but Elite needs his attention in this moment. And then you see like the stress and the just like,
I think I've seen that face before.
God. Oh yeah. And it's just, I kind of laugh at him just because I see, it's not funny, but it kind of is. Because I see the stress in his face though. And I'm just like, you got to realize though, it's been going really, really good. This is just one thing that is kind of going bad right now and you're going to fix it. Don't worry. But in the moment, it's just like overwhelming for him because he's also trying to juggle 5 other things. So it's just kind of funny. So that's why I'm like, no more. We're good. You have a really good handle. We don't need to add more to our plate. It's good right now. Like,
so is Chrissy kind of like Shark Tank? Is she one of the sharks? And you got to give her the pitch. You got.
Oh yeah, I got to give her. He's, honey, he's sitting down. She's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not starting this. But again, like, let me chase a little rabbit here from the entrepreneurial perspective. That's going to happen. Like you're going to even think when things are going well, and then all of a sudden, things go bad overnight. You're like, oh my gosh, I got a lawsuit. I got something crazy happening. You're going to get stressed. You have every right to be stressed and get stressed. But I think the difference of the ones that either let it consume them or the ones that power through and find success is when you do get stressed and you do find those really big challenging, you got to dive head first. You can't dodge it. You can't avoid it. You can't just delegate it. When it comes down to when that ball, it rolls uphill when you own a business, right? And when it gets to you, the higher and higher you get in the business, the more and more people you have underneath you, that ball gets bigger and bigger. Once it gets to you, you got to dive right in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show your leadership, and it's game time, right? You got to dive in, take that challenge head on. And I'll tell you, the exponential growth that you will see as a leader, as an entrepreneur, when you take those major challenges head on, lawsuits and stuff like that, man, you will grow tremendously. So don't avoid it. Don't be afraid of it. It's going to happen. When it does, take your moment to be stressed and then dive head first and make it happen.
That's where you show your value, right?
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of the stuff that you learn from putting those fires out and really coming face to face with those issues, you can take into everything in life, right? In your personal life and everything like that. I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors quick. Then we have some comments we need to go through. We got some people on here, go through the comments. And then I want to talk about the parenting situation a little bit too. I want to talk about when these guys showed up, right? So we had Mila and Ryder show up. I want to talk about that as well. So Job Nimbus, right? We got to give a shout out to Job Nimbus. Sounds like they got a new sales dashboard.
Yeah. So I don't even know. Forgive me if I'm not allowed to say this yet, but no, they sent an email out. So if you remember, you got the email. It's launching on the 8th. There's a whole new sales dashboard reporting tool that they're launching to, and I don't even know. I got to get my download on it here pretty soon. We're going to bring on, one of the key members of that team here in a few weeks. But really excited about that. Job Nimbus has been, a key element in growing our business. They've become the top CRM in the roofing space, a great sponsor for us for a number of years. And we appreciate all they do. And they're always looking to, improve their systems, their processes, and improve the industry. And this new sales dashboard, this new sales tracking tool is going to be a game changer.
Yep. So if you want to check them out, go to info.jobnimbus.com/roofing-academy. All right. That'll be the Roofing Academy SPG landing page. So make sure you're checking it out that way, right? And then what about one of our newer sponsors, Company Cam, right? What are the head honchos in the tech space in roofing, right?
We are very proud to welcome in. We finally locked down what I see as like the top four, like the four key softwares you got to have. And Job Nimbus is one, and definitely Company Cam is in there as well. You got to document your jobs. You got to, photos are everything in construction and roofing and all business at this point, especially if you're doing anything in the home services industry. You got to document before, after, during, and especially if you're supplementing. So why not have an app that you can just pull the app up, it geo targets, it knows where you're at, it connects with the CRM, you can annotate. Man, that was an absolute game changer for our business and how we're able to do sales and conduct business. Our production manager can sit there with their computer screen up and literally in real time see everything that's going on in the field. Every time a photo is clicked, boom, it's automatically updated, and now we can do our production with it as well. So welcome in. Appreciate Company Cam for joining us as a sponsor on the show. Do we have a special link for that as well?
We're trying to get landing pages for everybody, man. So you got to go companycam.com/SBG show, right? companycam.com/SBG show to get your free account, because if you haven't heard now by the ads, everything that they're running, Company Cam is now free. So check it out for your free account. Get that going. And then, of course, our friend 6060 Appraisal Group, last but not least, 6060, right? When's the right time to take it to appraisal?
Well, when you come to an impasse, right? We don't want to spend too much time, 9 months, waiting on an approval on a job or fighting with the insurance company. When you come to a head where you feel one way, this job should be done a certain way, you're the contractor, you're the professional, you're supposed to build roofs the proper way based on code, based on, manufacturers. And sometimes the insurance companies don't see it that way. When you come to that impasse, it's a good idea to look into hiring an appraisal. It's a third party that comes in and helps settle the claim and do it the absolute right way and to expedite that process. So I definitely would encourage you to look into, not always, but when it happens, you need to have someone on your side to fight the big bad insurance companies and or be a neutral party when you're fighting with the insurance companies. So check out 6060 Appraisal Group.com.
So it's 6060group.com.
6060group.com.
Now, okay, so we got some comments here. We got Ryan Groth hopped on. He said, "Thank you guys so much for doing this." He says, "Brothers family equals a great example for success for many of us." I mean, I know for him, he was able to take a lot of his company virtual to open up a lot of opportunities for him and his family. So that's great to see. We have Paige on here. We love Company Cam. Boom. I love that.
Paige with SFY. They've been a partner of ours for a number of years when supplementing. So give them a little shout out as well.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. And then we got Joe Lester on here. He says, hey, guys. So, Joe, I mean, it's the first time that he's been on for a while. I mean, he used to listen to the show all the time. And then he got busy starting his own company, right? And making plays. Too busy crushing it there. But I actually went out to Philadelphia, and I got dinner with him and his wife when I was out there. Oh, they just got a new baby boy, right? So that goes into my next thing, right? So maybe, he's sitting there with a new business and a baby boy. Woo! What's the best way? And how did you guys start to balance out the parenting now aspect? So not only do you have to make sure you have time for you two, now parenting and the business, and 6 or 7 businesses, right? So we got a lot going on here. So how do you guys how do you guys been going about that?
That's the toughest job of all, right? Mm-hmm. Of all of them is trying to figure out how to become a good parent.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny actually, and I don't know if we actually planned it this way, but it just kind of happened. Both of our kiddos are winter babies.
Oh yeah.
And that is slow season for roofing. And so it was honest. And again, I don't know if that was really planned. Our kids are
the good Lord was looking out for us in that one, for sure.
Honestly, because so I was teaching when we had Ryder, and I continued to teach till I had Mila, and then I decided to stay home. So I mean, we were both working. It was really great though, because I was on like winter break, and then he wasn't super busy, so he kind of got a little bit of paternity leave. He got to be at home with me a little bit, which was awesome. So that was really great. But God, even thinking back to it, I'm like, it was such a blur. When I think about it, and like me working and you working, trying to shuttle him back and forth to daycare, that was a lot. I feel like it was such a blur, to be completely honest.
Every day was just, didn't have time to think, stop and think.
Non-stop.
I mean, it was always there. She was, bless her heart, she's a school teacher. Mm-hmm. And here I am, an entrepreneur, right, running multiple businesses. She was putting in more time and more work than I was. Mm-hmm. She gets done out of the school by the end of the day, comes home, pile of paperwork, pile of things she has to do, grading and prepping and all. It's so for the teachers out there, man, God bless you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for what you do.
Right.
And for those of you who don't understand just how challenging of a job and a career that is, just hug a teacher, do what you can to support teachers, because they're one of the most underappreciated, professions in the entire world. So
no, it's true. And that was a challenge too, just like from my career standpoint, because I'm watching him as an entrepreneur, right? And he gets to make his own schedule, kind of, which is good and bad, because he'll be on a phone call at like 7 at night, right. So, but it has its, perks and everything, but he would get to make his own schedule. And like, there's certain things that come with being an entrepreneur that don't come with, for me specifically, being a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I think throughout some of those years, there was a little bit of resentment that built a little, because it was like, he's right. I was working like so much. Like I wouldn't leave school till 4, 5, 6 some days, and then still get Ryder and then come home. And like, it was a lot, and take care of the house too. It was just a lot. And so it was really hard, because I think that there just was an aspect of resentment, because you guys all know, if you're a teacher, you don't make a lot of money. We don't do it to make money, right? That's not why we're in education. And so that was never like a big thing for me. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm not making I'm not making a ton of money, whatever. But it was just more like the time that you're putting in for the output was just like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So once we had our second, it was just one of those things where it was just like too much. You know what I mean? It was too much. We were blessed enough that he was to a place in his career that I could stay home. Mm-hmm. And that was a whole nother challenge still too. But those were hard years. Those were really hard years, I feel. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have Caesar on here. He says, this is great. I appreciate you guys give both business and personal tips. Caesar, he won the tickets to RoofCon. Oh, so we'll see him there.
See you there, brother.
We'll see him there for sure. What about, is there any almost like rules or standards that you kind of like implement where it's like, all right, hey, at this time I'm done, or like I don't do emails at night, or is there anything that's worked well for you guys that you kind of like try to follow and kind of live by in a way?
The hardest part, and everyone can attest to this, is the consistency, but that we do try, right? Mm-hmm. So I do, and I want her to speak I want her to kind of maybe reinforce what I think is right, but I think I've gotten a lot better at like clocking out. Like I work from home a lot, and at 5 o'clock comes, it's when I'm in that office, I'm working. When I'm out of the office, fair game. It's family time. So I feel like I've really tried to make an effort to clock out at the end of the day. I'm not checking emails at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, unless there's something, you know, a certain situation. But I really try to be very aware of it can wait till the morning, right? Get up early if I have to get up a little earlier and get it done in the morning. So that way it just, you can have that transition from work to family and not be, you know, completely distracted by the emails and the phone calls and stuff coming in all night long.
Yeah. No, he's gotten way better. And I think we've both tried to, again, consistency. We're not very consistent with it, but we've tried to set parameters of, okay, maybe between 7 and 9 at night when we're trying to get the kids to bed and going to the park and playing before bedtime. You know, it's like, no phones, get off your phone. You know what I'm saying? I will start really good and then it kind of teeters off. But it was actually funny just with this whole COVID thing, right? Like when it first started, I know that we've all been just like, oh my gosh, when's everything over? At the beginning of it for us, we spent so much quality time together as a couple and as a family because we weren't in this rat race of go with work and getting the kids places and doing X, Y, Z, you know, like everything. And it was really such a good time for us because I feel like we were more conscious of putting the phone away, and I don't know. We just had a lot of quality time. We built some puzzles
together. It was crazy.
Oh, it was crazy. It was the best thing. Well, because I think we had to really be creative about spending that time together. Yeah. We just didn't have a calendars booked. And it was the best thing that probably could have happened for our family and our marriage, to be completely honest. Yep. And now we're kind of getting back into everything's open again and our calendars are filling again. And we're still trying to find that balance now. And I think we're doing a pretty good job though. You know, like we spent a great family day yesterday together randomly on a Tuesday, you know. So I feel like that whole COVID experience in those first few months really helped us start to kind of calibrate work time versus family time versus do we need to book our calendar every week? No, you know, it's really good for us.
Yeah, really it kind of opened your eyes to like, well, you actually can do other things and just have a day to do nothing, right? Or a day to just do family stuff and not be so go and so scheduled all the time. So again, that will we don't got it right. No. We don't got to figure it out. No. We're just trying, you know. I think everybody out there can attest to that. Is, you know, that's just the life we live, right? And the one thing I can say is cut back on social media. Don't check your emails at night. Have a time to clock out. And one of the things that we do try to do is have a period at night where phones are left, put them away, and we have a dedicated time with our kids every night. We have like a couple hours where it's just us and the kids reading books and getting ready for bed, doing all the things without being distracted by the phones and by all these things. So, you know, we're nowhere near where we could be, but those are a couple of things that really have, you know, really helped, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the working from home? I mean, you've been doing it for a while, right? Randy's been working from home for a while now. I mean, how do you guys kind of make sure that like that's the office, like that's the business spot? Is there any kind of separation or kind of guidelines you guys follow there?
Yep. This guy, can I just tell you, after talking to girlfriends, let me just tell you how lucky this guy is. Okay. Yeah, okay. Because like I make lunch for myself and Mila or the kid, you know, if I have Ryder here, like I make lunch for us, right? And I just always naturally bring Randy lunch, right? Oh, and I'm talking to girlfriends and they have, you know, their husbands are working from home with COVID and everything. Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, wow, you make your husband lunch? Like you bring it to him? You do what? And I was like, is this not normal? Like, what am I doing? And I told him one day, I go, you are so dang lucky. You are so lucky.
No arguments here. Lucky and grateful and blessed. And I appreciate the lunch. Yeah. And here's the thing though, I don't break. You know, if I'm working, I'm working. Like I'll just work straight through the day and it'll be like 3 o'clock. Oh, I haven't eaten anything today. Maybe I should. Yeah. Because I'd rather just get it done and then maybe clock out a little bit earlier. She kind of is aware of that. And she's like, all right, so she'll just come in and bring me something. And every once in a while, maybe like today, for instance, I had a little bit of gap. Like, all right, let's shut it down and go spend a little time and eat lunch together. You know, every once in a while we're able to actually go and do little lunches, but yeah, having that support is pretty cool. However, here's a funny thing. She could probably attest, like the times that I do have to leave or go to the office or meetings or golf or whatever, she'll attest that like it's a good thing because I'm gone for a few hours. Like that little bit of separations actually proves to be pretty good.
Yeah,
for us.
I love when he leaves the house.
Yeah,
I love it. I don't know. There's something about him here. Even if he's cooped up in his office, I am so much more productive when he is not here.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I just like I could get so much done. So he's like, sometimes he jokes and he's like, "I'm gonna leave the house so you could get stuff done."
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you. Bye.
I'm gonna go play golf. See you later.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is nice too. And when you see each other all the time, it's like, I love you, but it's like you want to miss each other still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to look forward to seeing each other. And I mean, I think there's a lot more positives to him working at home though. Like he got to take Ryder to school this morning and we go to school this morning. Like those are really great things that, I know a lot of people don't get that. Like they don't see their kids till bedtime when they get home from work, and that sucks. And so I really try and like be so grateful for those things of him working from home. And then I also like when he leaves. And then I also like when he's gone.
So I have one more question, and then we'll end it out with like the golden nugget that we has in it, right? And the golden nugget's going to be something along the lines for advice you guys want to give to couples who are balancing parenting, marriage, and entrepreneurship, right? One last takeaway you want to leave them with. But before we go into that, you mentioned as you scaled the business, you actually had more freedom because you had the right people in the right spots, right? So you were able to balance it almost a little bit better when you scaled the business because you did it right. What advice do you have for somebody that doesn't necessarily have that quite yet, but they want it?
First off, I think it starts with an intense commitment to learning yourself, self-awareness, because you want, if you're going to scale a business, you really have to understand your number one most important, valuable life asset to the business. Like, what are you really, 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 really good at? And have that vision of how do I build a business around getting me to a place where my job within my business is completely in alignment with my greatest God-given talents. And that's hard. That's challenging to do. And it's humbling as well, because part of that process is you start to realize that you're not as good as you think you are. Right. I'm an entrepreneur. I can do all this. I can do everything in roofing. I can run a business. I can produce, I can sell, I can write checks. I can do everything. I can wear all the hats. And then you wear all the hats for a number of years. Like, holy crap, I don't want to wear all the hats, but you don't know what your strength is. Which one is your absolute greatest strength? Figure that out. And for me, it was, understanding and kind of, humbling to realize that, man, there's a lot of things that I'm not that great at. And there's other people that are either in the organization or that I need to find, bring into the organization to help, fulfill some of those roles to allow me to get to where my greatest strength is in the visionary, the marketing, the creative side of entrepreneurship, trying to be 20, 30,000 feet to look 2-3 steps ahead. You got to have that visionary. And it's hard to have that visionary if you're doing everything and you can only see the challenge that's right in front of you. So you have to try to put the right pieces in place to step back a little bit, to then look a little bit farther ahead over that wall. And then now my job is to be 2-3 steps ahead of everybody else, to continue that vision, continue growing and putting obstacles out there for them to tackle and help us through. So again, whatever your strengths are, I think it starts with figuring out your strengths and then, figuring out that vision for what you want out of your life. A lot of it has to do with too, like, I wanted a life of freedom. I wanted a life where I can take a Tuesday off and go to the zoo with my family. We want that. That was the vision. I wanted that 10 years ago. And now we just literally just yesterday, I was like, you know what? I think I can clear my schedule today. We had an opportunity. The kids were there. We took the kid out of school, went to the zoo, and it was an amazing day. We have now we have this memory we'll have forever. Yeah. And I was blessed with the opportunity to just say, you know what? Let me wipe the schedule out and let's do this. That's the vision. Do you have that vision? Backtrack, reverse engineer it, and do what you can today. Even if that vision is 10 years out, you got to make steps today to accomplish that vision. Now, shifting gears before we start the wrap up process, which maybe I think I just did that, man.
Pretty much. I think that might
let's
be.
Let's comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead. I think let's do it that way.
And then let's talk about the entrepreneurship bug that this young lady has.
Oh God. Well, this might be a good transition to that. Then. Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, here's the deal. Okay, like, even now that he is not wearing all the hats in his companies, right? There are plenty of points where he was wearing all the hats, and it is a lot. And it is very frustrating at times. There were many points where I was super resentful because of the time that he was committing to, you know, all of those hats versus like me. Or then we started having kids and it was just like, it's a lot. And you don't want that resentment to build. And one thing I had to realize, like for me, once I decided to kind of step away from my career and education for a little bit, just to be with the kids and everything, that was a really, really, really hard thing for me to do, because when he's still busy, that's when he was like starting the roofing academy and stuff. Right.
Yep.
And so it was just like, that was a whole, like, he finally got comfortable again, all these ideas that he has, right? He finally got comfortable with his role at Elite, and he's like able to delegate stuff and, you know his role in the back. And then all of a sudden Roofing Academy comes and it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, because you were still a teacher at that point when I met you guys.
And I think that was right when I was pregnant with Mila and right before I decided to stay home. And so when he was in the midst of all that, and then I stay home and I'm this new mom, well, for the second time, but still, it is hard. And there is something about when, like, if you're a woman and you have your career and then all of a sudden you decide to stay home with your kids, which is so great. Like, whether you decide to keep working, stay home with your kids, whatever you decide is right for you, awesome. It was really, really hard for me because I had worked since I was 14.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that whole identity was completely like ripped from me, my decision, but it was still like really hard because I'm watching him tackle this professional career and I'm just trying to take care of the kids in the house, which is by far the most important job anyone will have. However, 100%. It still doesn't fill your cup of that professional piece of your identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it created some resentment there for a while. And I had to realize, this is like perfect segue. Good job. I had to realize, like, I needed a little something for myself to feel that little bit of goal setting or like just accomplishing something. Even though I know being a mother and being at home is like the most significant accomplishment you could have. There's always that little piece of you that just needs that. I don't even know. It's like
a sense of identity.
Yes.
I
just needed a little something. And so he has been so supportive of my side gigs. Like, I needed it to just like come back to myself. Like, I feel like I had lost a piece of myself and it was really, really hard and it really, really sucked. And so I think having your own thing, ladies, like if your partner, or gentlemen, if your partner is like big entrepreneur, if you have your own thing that you're trying to tackle and accomplish, it helps so much, especially during those seasons that your partner is wearing all the hats trying to grow their business. Like, it's just hands down. If I give you a piece of advice, have something for yourself that you're striving for. I think it just super helps. Yeah.
And it was awesome. Yeah. And with her, it started off with makeup, right? She found this opportunity. She found this makeup she really liked using. And she's like, wait, I can do a little business out of this and do some Facebook Lives. And it started there. And she's seen some good success there in this little makeup, brand that she does with unique makeup. A lot of you probably have seen that. And for those of you who are watching this, just click on her link. She did a live earlier today. You want to see what that's all about? You can check out the makeup. And if you have a spouse or something you want to take care of for the holidays, why not? Shameless plug. Get some makeup.
Shameless plug.
And then she also does. She's also had this dream of her whole life of being a fitness instructor, and she just loves that teaching mentality, right? So she's able to work with Stroller Strides. And she teaches fitness classes a couple times throughout the week. And that's just so much fun. She just lights up when she does that. And fittingly enough, if you're teaching fitness and you're doing all these fitness things, like, active wear is a big deal. COVID hit. Nobody wore jeans for 6 months. Everyone wore yoga pants and sweats. So she's like, well, why not get into the business of selling yoga pants and selling sweats? So that's what she's wearing is Zaya, another company she's working with. So it's just a lot of fun to be a part of it and to support that. And, and for those of you, the shameless plug, take care of your wives out there. Give them some Zaya, give them some makeup. We got to, support the entrepreneurial journey and take care of this one as well.
Yeah. So, and more so than anything, it's been, here's the thing too, is like for me right now, because I'm still trying to take care of the kids and the house and everything else, these kind of side gigs, they're not to supplement income right now for us. It's more literally just for like my own personal goals, that own professional piece for me that I need, and for him to be so supportive. God, I'm kind of like him, I guess. I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm doing unique, but
how much did it cost?
I'm going to go sell activewear too. Just so you know. Oh, and by the way, I want to get this fitness cert to just grow myself in the fitness industry. Oh, and by the way, so I guess I have no room to speak when he comes to me with ideas.
Yeah.
But he supports it every inch of the way because like, literally like I don't want to say that's what I've done for you, but like that's just how you
You
support
have
each
though.
other in your dreams
Yeah.
and goals. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like you just are there. So I really appreciate it because it's been awesome.
So you just got 2 crazy nuggets, my friend. I don't know if we even need to go in.
I think that's it right there.
I
think that's it right there.
Well, Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you guys for sharing your story. I mean, there's a bunch of people commenting saying, it's hard to balance, business and home life. So I think a lot of people got a lot of good value from this one episode for sure.
Keep fighting the good fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as true balance. There's just waves and there's cycles in life.
Yep.
And you just got to take, focus on the thing right in front of you. You get done today what needs to get done today. Worry about tomorrow. And every once in a while, just take a step back and really look at the big picture, the vision of where do you want to be, and figure out what that ideal lifestyle is for you, your family, your business, and make strides every single day to get there.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining us on episode 120 of the Start Build Grow Show.
Yay. Thanks, guys.
God bless.
See ya.